This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd, reminding you that we and the show you are listening to are proud members of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Find out more and check out all of the other great shows and content at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, President of the Non-Threat Assassination Squad, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, where we counter the media's negative image of gun culture by introducing you to the amazing men and women who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. We're focusing on people, not politics. The everyday people from all walks of life, men and women who volunteer their time and effort, who spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. They're your doctors. They clean your teeth. They're fixing your houses, taking care of your pets. They fix your computers and pilot your planes, and they protect our streets and our nation. They are gun culture at its finest, and it's misunderstood or completely unknown to the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to introduce you to another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. I'm really excited and honored to be able to say that today's show is brought to you by the Blue Bullets. Why am I so excited? Well, for one, the Blue Bullets make cost-effective, quality bullets specifically designed for competitive shooters. Two, they're big supporters of the shooting sports because they're competitive shooters themselves. And three, because I'm a customer and I believe in their products. Using their own polymer-based liquid coating that they mix in-house, Blue Bullets are designed to prevent barrel leading, to reduce smoke, and yet they're priced comparably to other uncoated lead bullets. And unlike uncoated lead bullets, the Blue Bullets are Glock safe. How did they do that? They did that by spending 6 years developing a coating and a process that ensures consistency and quality. I can tell you from my own experience that while I usually don't perform very well at matches, the Blue Bullets never let me down. Visit thebluebullets.com today. Tell them you heard about it on Unload and Show Clear by using this promo code BBUSC at checkout, and you will save 5% off of your order. The Blue Bullets, family owned and operated by competitors who know what you want in competition bullets. Check them out at thebluebullets.com. Our special guest today is Jon Villing from Batavia, Ohio. Jon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lloyd. I'm happy to have some time with you.
Well, it's you were squad mom for walking in Memphis, and I got to see you again at the holiday Havoc. So it's great to have you here and get a chance to actually sit down and chat for a few minutes. Tell us a little about yourself. Tell us what you do for a living there in Batavia. Batavia is right outside of Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, we're about 25 miles outside of Cincinnati. I have been working for the last 5.5 years now in a gun shop, so very lucky in that regard. Started off as a part-time sales counter guy and worked my way up to management, and I'm now sales manager of Target World. We're the oldest gun shop in Greater Cincinnati. We do quite a bit of within the shooting sports. We host IDPA. We host Glock Shooting Sport Foundation, in which we were blessed to have the 2018 GSSF Indoor Match of the Year. So that was fantastic.
Nice.
So I get to play with guns all day. I get to spend the boss's money on guns all day. I get to talk to really awesome people who are in to buy their first gun, and then I get to talk to other people who are looking for full-on IDPA gun, USPSA gun, 3-gun rifle, 3-gun shotgun, and stuff like that. So, I get to talk about guns, and I get paid for it.
Very
so,
nice.
Sign me up, right? That's fantastic.
Right, dream job.
Yeah. And then, too, I'm blessed to really get to shoot a lot. I get to shoot upwards of 5 or 6 matches, IDPA matches a month. I shoot GSSF every month at our range, at Target World. So I'm blessed to be able to shoot a lot. And then, lastly, I co-own a Facebook group, the Tri-State Gun Enthusiasts. We cover Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. We're just an enthusiast group, but we're 4,000 members strong, and seems like we're growing daily. And just the ability to build up a community of like-minded individuals. We try and leave politics out of it, within my group, but just a place where people can come and, hey, I got a question regarding, whatever it might be, or hey, did you, see so-and-so, or, we had, Mr. Brandon Jackson, as you're aware, he took overall win at the match in Evansville. Good job, Brandon. But he posts his videos, to our Facebook page, and kind of gives people an insight who don't know what our sport is, what it is. And, it's, videos and pictures, they're awesome. They really are.
Originally from Ohio?
Born and raised. Yeah. Been here all 42 and a half years. So, yeah.
So where did obviously the interest in guns didn't just spring up when you got the job at the gun shop. Where did that interest come from? Was it something that was ingrained as a kid, or are you kind of new to guns?
No, I've been around guns. I live and grew up on a farm. We always had land to go shoot. So my grandpa and my father, they weren't big gun guys, but they had 22 rifles and the shotguns and stuff like that. And neither of them were big hunters by any stretch. Although every once in a while we'd go out and squirrel hunt or whatever, rabbit hunt, stuff like that. But I always had, I instilled from a very young age. I think I shot my first 22 rifle, I think I was 5 or 6 years old. And, but grandpa and dad, they instilled in me safety first.
Mm-hmm.
These are, dangerous. They're not toys. They're, they're very, deadly and all that kind of thing, which, children should definitely learn at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And really didn't do much. I would go, maybe go through a box of 22 shells every month or two, nothing like too big.
Right.
But then, I don't know, that, like I said, that was back as a kid. And, back in 2011 or something like that, some guys that I work with, they were, just getting into, guns and stuff, and, AR-15s and, handguns and stuff like that. And I really had very, very, very limited access to handguns.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of grew up with a 22 rifle and, 12 gauge pump action shotgun. That's what I shot.
Right.
So, my friends, they were, oh, look what we got. And, they invited me to go along to this guy's Randy's range down in Kentucky. I show up with my 22 rifle and my 12 gauge shotgun, and these guys have AR-15s that are all built up and they're all super fancy, and they've got all the accessories on them, and handguns that are, wow, look at that, it's super cool. And so I felt a little bit left out, with the firepower, so to speak, that I had. And so shortly thereafter, I was like, well, I don't like being shown up, and I had a lot of fun shooting with them. They let me, here's some ammo, here's a magazine, go shoot stuff with my AR or handgun or whatever.
Right.
And shortly thereafter, I had a really good paying job at the time, making some decent money, and I went all in and went out over the next couple of weeks. Went out to a couple different gun shops in the area, and decided I was going to buy a handgun first. And the first handgun that I bought was a SIG 226 Equinox and 40 cal.
Oh.
And expensive gun, but my God, was it pretty looking. And it quickly became my biggest hobby. After everything was said and done, a couple years later, it was like, it'd be cool to, I like guns so much, and it'd be cool to see what's out there. Maybe I was working at a job where it was Monday through Friday for the most part, and I traveled around locally all over the place. So I looked into some different gun shops, and asked, and seeing if anybody was looking for just part-time help. And first place I went to, they were looking for, kind of the proverbial, if you don't have a police background or military background, generally speaking, we're not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Went to another place, and it was Target World, and the buyer, the purchasing manager and sales manager at the time, Todd, had a look at my resume, and I've had sales and training background for many, many years, and he took a chance and brought me on board, and a little over 5.5 years later, here I am as kind of Joe, the owner, kind of one of his right hand guys, and Tara, our GM. So it's very cool, being a kind of a shot caller to help him make decisions, and so it's a lot of fun.
So had you been exposed at all to competitive shooting prior to joining Target World, or was that your introduction to competitive shooting?
That was my introduction. We were running the Glock Shooting League, GSSF. Charlie, our old general manager, he was running this for many, many, many years, 15 years, 18 years, something like that. We were one of the first to get on board when Glock introduced it. Brings a ton of people into our store now. Started mediocre, of course, as something brand new, but that was my first introduction into competitive shooting, and I didn't even start shooting that right away. I think I was at Target World for, God, it was probably almost 2 years until I started competing. And I bought a couple of handguns, and thought, man, I can hold my own at 7 yards. I can punch out an X-ring. That's great, right? Not on the clock, nobody looking at you. I can competing. This will be fun. It'll be easy. And boy, was I wrong. It was, something that, once you introduce a stressor into the level of competition, our brains become very small. We become very dumb animals. And, it's one of those things. I thought I could do it. It's like, wow, I was wrong. So that's when I had fun. I kept with it, but it was one of those things like, I really have to work on this. Shooting to me does not come naturally. And, I put a lot of work into it. Not as much as I should have, unfortunately, but I do put work into it, and I try and shoot as much as I can because shooting is my practice. I think 2016, I think, is when I first started competing, and we were not hosting IDPA, just GSSF, and that's what I started with. And some friends of mine, Tom Woolery, he and our match director, Chris Copley, they came in and, they wanted to have a meeting, want to talk to you in Target World, see if you'd be interested in hosting IDPA. And at that point, never heard of it. Never heard of that.
Oh, wow.
USPSA Steel Challenge, never even heard of it. So they were like, we are not getting what we want in the range that we're doing it now. As a matter of fact, has been canceled at the range that they had it at.
Oh.
They were not enough money being made, or whatever was going on at the other range. But they're like, are you interested? And talking to them, they explained what it is. Like, well, that sounds really cool. I think we could probably do pretty well with that. So I got in, talked it over with me. I mean, at this point, I wasn't a manager. I was just regular counter guy, but I had connections because of our Facebook group, So I took it to, management and the owner, and, hey, it's going to bring people in here. What's the average? How many people a night? What are we going to charge? What props do we need? So we, Chris and Tom and I and Target World, we came to an understanding, and we started the match. After buying some new supplies and targets and pasters and building little barricades and, getting some 55-gallon barrels and stuff. I want to say we started, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months later or something like that. And we've been, hosting these matches now. We do it every second and fourth Tuesday evening. We've had as high as 40, I think 41 or 42 people, which was way busy.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're probably in the 15 to 20 person range.
Right.
It slows down here over the summer when people can go outside and shoot.
Right.
Here we are 3 years later, still hosting this, and like I said, talking to the people we talk to, we do have. It seems like every match we have new people showing up, and sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. They get freaked out and they don't come back, but. We run, obviously safe range first, but, we try and be, very open, with people. And, it's one of those things we try and take it easy on the new people that are coming in.
Right. So you had shot some GSSF up to this point. What was it? What do you remember of the first time you got up and tried your hand at an IDPA match?
I was thinking to myself, wow, all these people are looking at me. Don't screw anything up. It was one of those things. I'm pretty sure I had a penalty because I shot targets out of order, and it was one of those things where it seemed like it took forever, but it was done quick, and I was down all kinds of points. I want to say I think I was using a VP9, HK VP9. I think is what I shot my first match with. And I hate stock pistols. To me, I like building and tinkering, and if there's something I can do to make it better, I try and make it better. So ESP is what I shot. That very first time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever shot an SSP gun in IDPA. Although I've bought guns specifically for it. Sure, John. One day you'll shoot SSP. Buy this gun. So
right.
It's to a point now where. IDPA takes up a majority of my time. I've got, guys in my enthusiast group. I've got customers and other friends and stuff that are, John, you need to put the handgun down. Come shoot 3-gun. Come shoot 2-gun. I've got other guys, hey, pick up a shotgun and come shoot some sporting clays or some trap or something. And, anything with a trigger on it, I generally like pulling, but IDPA is what I really fell in love with. And I'll be honest with you, Lloyd, it's my comfort level. I've shot some USPSA matches, local, and it's one of those things where it's there's some similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. And I am admittedly to your general public, I get nervous before I shoot, and the night before there's a lot of times where I just stay up at night. I just think, well, okay, I've read over the stages, and I think this is what I'm going to do. And don't do anything dumb. Don't get DQ'd, and because that's no fun.
No.
So,
no.
It's one of those things. But like I said, IDPA is certainly my comfort level. I've got a group of guys that I travel with, locally, regionally, and stuff like that. And we have a very kind of a tight knit group of guys that I shoot with, and generally speaking, we're in the car with each other, driving to some match, once a month, twice a month, easy, if not more. Bigger, more when there's regional matches or state matches to travel to. So, like I said, it's definitely in comfort level.
How long?
I've been out to some different matches, but IDPA is definitely kind of what I cut my teeth on.
Gotcha. So, how long after that early experience with the indoor matches there at your home range, how long after that before you got out shooting outside and started going, thinking, okay, I'm ready now to try my hand at a state level or a regional level match?
So I didn't shoot my first classifier. I started shooting IDPA in 2016, which is, I think it was April 2016. I don't think I even shot a classifier maybe in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I was traveling around to some of our outdoor local matches. We are lucky; we've got 3 that are very close to us here.
Mm-hmm.
One Northern Kentucky, and then 2 just north of where we are here in Cincinnati. So we get to shoot a lot, thankfully. But I didn't go and shoot my first match. I became a safety officer with our now state coordinator Eric Daniels. That was in 2018, and I did that just maybe it was early. I think it was early 2018, maybe late 2017, just so I could help at matches because it was it was something I was like very fond of. Like I like to be doing stuff, and being able to educate people that are new, and I thought that was kind of a progression of being able to help people, get into the sport and understand the sport and stuff.
Right.
And I didn't go into my first match, and this is after, my buddy Tom and Vince, they've been traveling. They went up to nationals, and they traveled around to, some bigger matches. And, well, this looks like fun. I want to start doing this. And thankfully, they were like, yeah, John, I guess you can come along. So it was one of those things. My first big match was in 2018. It was the Rust Belt. And that was my first match that I shot, and the first big match that I worked as a safety officer. And, got to meet some fantastic people there. Kenny Richards, John Reiner, some other, Simon Cody, some great people up there, very welcoming. That was an experience. It was pretty hot, pretty sunny when staff shot on Friday. And then all day, Saturday and Sunday, it was a monsoon. So, SO and in the rain, and, pasting and scoring targets through bags. And, it was kind of like if I could survive any match, it seems like that was it. I didn't shoot all that well. My nerves got the better part of me with that match. And I was shooting ESP at that time. And, it was, but it was fun. It was fun. It was fun seeing people shoot that I didn't know from different parts of, the region, or, even different parts of the country, people I've heard of, but never had a chance and an opportunity to meet, which is, that's one of the things that I like about this sport is literally meeting people of different areas, and, seeing, how one person might, kind of attack a stage. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I should probably try and do it that way, because, for, the years that I have been shooting, I still learn. And, there's a literal ton of people that are way better than I am. And those are kind of the people that I sponge stuff off of, and get educated. And, it's fun, like seeing different walks of life, so to speak, and how they shoot.
Right.
That's definitely one of the cool things about, not only participating as a shooter in the sport, but, being a safety officer and literally being able to watch every shooter.
Right.
That's awesome. It really is.
So, since the 2018 Rust Belt, we mentioned earlier, I saw you at the Walking in Memphis this year, and just most recently at the Holiday Havoc in 2019. So, what have you done between the Rust Belt and Memphis?
Well, in 2018, what was it? It was Rust Belt. It was the Indiana State match. I just shot that one. I didn't work it. And then Holiday Havoc last year. That's where the Holiday Havoc, for the matches that I have shot, that seems to be my favorite. And I definitely said the same thing last year after the three that I shot. And this year, I talked about it again with the guys in the van on the way home. This was another great match. And Jay Heil did a fantastic job, taking over for Kevin Farrar as match director. But that was my 2018. This year, I did the Indy CCP Classic, battled Bedford, Walking in Memphis, Michigan State, of course, Holiday Havoc again.
Now, did you work all of those as well?
No, Michigan and the Indy CCP. I didn't work either of those two matches, but the other ones I did.
Okay.
So it's one of those things that's cool. I mean, you become a safety officer, or chief safety officer, squad mom, or something like that, and it's cool. You get to shoot for free. So, I mean, hey, I like free. Free's good. So it's one of those things that it's free's good, but even if you still had to pay, $100, $105, $150, whatever match fee it is, I honestly, and for the match directors that are out there, don't get any ideas, but I honestly, I would still pay to shoot and work, because, to me, it's just that much fun to do. And, when you've got a love of the sport, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's hard hours. It's you're there 2 days instead of one, and you're away from home and take off to work and stuff like that. But it's all part of it. And let me tell you, when I met you walking in Memphis, that's the first time I've ever been a squad mom. And you guys, I thought were. I requested your group because I knew a lot of guys you were shooting with, and Brandon Jackson and Aaron Brock and Bob Frank and some other guys that were in your squad. So Chris Jameson was nice enough to let me take that squad as squad mom. But I'll tell you what, I did not. I didn't expect to work as hard. I was like, yeah, this will be great. It's going to be a great squad. It'll be super easy. And I think that was the hardest match I've worked. So it is for people who don't know, you really don't know. Right. And it's one of those things I've been lucky enough to with the squads that I've been SOing and stuff like that. Nobody's there hasn't been any blow ups or anything, but I know it happens. Bad calls are made by SO sometimes, and stuff like that. But for the shooters who have not been not worked in match, it's one of those things where before you flip out, take a second, dial it down a notch or two,
right,
and be calm. We'll listen to you if you think we made a bad call, which we're human, it happens. It's one of those things where I've not seen much of it, but work a match as staff, and you'll see kind of the dedication that we put into it.
Yep.
So but like I said, I've been lucky enough to not have anything like huge and major happen, and generally speaking, people are okay. But it's still a sport, and there are some competitors out there who are, they are steadfast competitors. They will fight for a down one instead of a down three in a New York second. So
right.
But at the end of the day, it is a competition. It works.
Yep. Yeah. What's your favorite division, and what are you competing in most often? What gun are you competing with most often now?
So this year, we all, as a group that I shoot with, pretty much all the time, we got in our heads that we were going to go to the Indy CCP match, so we're going to shoot CCP all year. Mm-hmm. And my God, did I hate it! I did not shoot that match well. All the mag changes. It seems like you're changing mags all the time.
You're going through three every stage.
Right. So it's very hard after shooting ESP for as long as I did, because that's pretty much what I shot. I got big hands, so holding a small gun isn't the most comfortable. But we all built up Smith & Wesson 2.0 compacts. Got them all decked out, Apex trigger and magwell and base pads and fiber optic Dawson sights and pretty much the works. The trigger on a tuned Apex trigger is it's almost 1911 good. So that I can't blame that on my pitiful performance in that match. But no, nevertheless, after that match, I was like, man, I really hate this. And a couple of guys are like, you stick with it, another match. So Battle of Bedford was our next big match we traveled to in Pennsylvania, and I did shoot. I shot better. I was pleased with the way I shot that match with the CCP gun. But Carry Optics was something that has been growing in our area. I was fortunate enough to win a trip up to because of my job up to the Sig Sauer Academy, and I got to train with some of their instructors. And I had a Sig X5 with a Romeo red dot on it. And I think me personally, I want to say I went through probably 1,200 rounds in an 8-hour day, getting used to, coming up and putting red dot on target. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't comfortable with red dot. I had, I think, 2 red dot guns, I think, prior to me going up there. and it always seemed, coming up on target, fishing for the dot. Going up there and talking to their phenomenal instructors. Plug for 6 Hour Academy. If you get a chance to go up there, go, because it's amazing. They really had great tutelage, and they really kind of helped me get used to carry optics. So that's what I've been shooting ever since the leaving Battle of Bedford. And the last marksman, like I said, I classified as marksman in January of this year. And I catch a lot of flack from some of the guys that are, you should have at least class sharpshooter. We know how you shoot. It's like, hey, that's what I classified as. I wasn't sandbagging. I missed a headshot. So, it is what it is. So anyway, the last 4 matches, I've been, through the little work that I've done and the amount of shooting I've been doing, I've been lucky enough to bring home first place carry optics marksman in 3 of the last 4 matches I've shot. And when I saw you down in Evansville, I am get a match bump to sharpshooter. So
very good. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was pleased with the way I shot the match, and I had a good comfort level. Still made some dumb mistakes, don't get me wrong, but it was one of those things. That's where I look to the people that are better than myself and see what they do and do what they do, and try and shoot how they do. And like I said, it's one thing that I learned from. I learned by watching people do it,
mm-hmm.
and talking different stage plans. And I'm like, well, yeah, duh, that certainly makes sense, John. Why aren't you doing it that way? So it's one of those things. It's a constant learning experience, and I don't think if you're learning anymore, I don't know if it's the necessary time to hang up the gun, but I don't know anybody that can go out and win every single match, especially this day and age where the limited matches I have been to, just to see some absolutely amazing talent,
mm-hmm.
and watching Brandon Jackson or Kevin Farrar. I mean, those are 2 guys that that are shooting carry optics, so that's why they're in the forefront of my mind. Watching those guys, it's kind of a treat watching them shoot.
Yep.
And respect them as shooters, and like them as friends and stuff like that. So it's kind of a win-win in that regard.
Absolutely. So what is it? You kind of alluded to this earlier, and you talked a little about it before we started recording. What is it about this sport? You've had the opportunity to shoot other sports. You started out in GSSF. You've been invited to do 3-gun and USPSA and some other things. What is it that you said this was that this sort of captivated you? What is it about IDPA that has you so captivated that you would say, no, I'm not really interested in the other stuff. I'm sticking with this. What is it you love about IDPA so much?
Well, it's the biggest thing, and I'll give you the cliched answer in a minute, but it's a comfort level. It's GSSF. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sorry for all the Glock fans out there. I'm not a big fan of Glock. Yes, they go bang when you pull the trigger most of the time, unless you've modded it, whatever. But you're standing at a certain spot and you're shooting on the clock. Don't get me wrong, but you're shooting at certain distance. Practicality wise, why I like IDPA so much is, and I tell people this, and some people look at me like I'm stupid, but I'm in charge of training at Target World. So I tell people, if you want training, short of going force on force where you're firing little paintball things at people, shooting IDPA will give you an idea of what you should do in the quote unquote real world as a concealed carry holder.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got 3 targets, you're not going to step out amongst all 3 of them and shoot the guy on the inside first, right? Just like we, slice a pie in IDPA. So to me, it's a game. Don't get me wrong, and I completely get that. Some people are like, it's a game. It's not training, but training I think fits. And I know a lot of people that are concealed carry trainers that shoot both IDPA and USPSA. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons As a concealed carry holder, unfortunately, seeing the lack of training that people will get or people will pay for.
Yeah.
Some people that have a gun, while yes, they legally are able to own it and legally able to conceal carry it, some of these people watching them shoot and they can't proverbially hit the broadside of a barn 5 feet away. You need more training.
Yep.
And we offer training. There is training everywhere. You should go look for training. And if you can't get training, you should buy a holster, or use some type of cover garment, and you should come and shoot IDPA. It might cost you $10. It might cost you $20. Shoot your first match or whatever free. You don't have to be an IDPA member, but you should look into this because it is training. But at the end of the day, yes, it's still a game.
And
so,
and
I
for
think
the
that's
people,
the biggest reason.
For those average, Joes like you're talking about who won't drop $250, who will go out and buy a new gun, but won't drop $250 for a training class.
Yeah.
You could probably get them to come out to an IDPA match for $20.
Yeah. It's being, I like being an ambassador for the sport. And, I don't care if you come and shoot my match, but I want you to go shoot a match.
All right. Well, Jon, thank you so much for everything you're doing. I enjoyed seeing you, spending some time with you at Memphis and seeing you again in Evansville, and really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to you tonight. And I look forward to seeing you at another match down the road. Hopefully it won't be too long.
As somebody who is another ambassador to the sport, thanks for what you're doing too, and the podcast you have. I think it's eye-opening, for the people who don't know. I think it is eye-opening to kind of, get, just shooters into what match directors and what safety officers and stuff like that, kind of go through, working at matches and stuff. So it's great what you're doing. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. All right. I want to thank today's guest for coming on the show and sharing his story. He was very generous with his time, and the interview ran longer than normal. So if you would like to hear the full-length interview, join us on Patreon, and you'll get access to all the extra content. You could hear the rest of the interview, plus full-length interviews from guests like Bob Vogel and Julie Golub. Sign up for just $1 a month to support the show, and you get access to all the special episodes at unloadpodcast.com/extra. Thank you again for listening. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.